Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
In this mad, mad world, it's very easy to feel powerless, like we're just along for the ride. Is there a way to move from powerlessness to empowered? If so, what's the magic formula? Mission Evolution Radio Show is coming to you around the world on the Voice of Canada Broadcast Network, www.vocbn.ca. With us this hour to explore power, faith, and purpose is Dean Wilkinson, the author of Live Like It's True. Dean, the Epic Work founder, is a blue-collar entrepreneur who built and sold several multi-million-dollar home service companies and designed a franchise system with over 100 locations. His website, epicwork.com. Dean, thanks so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thank you for having me, Gwilda.
Yeah, it's good, a real pleasure. So, you're Epic Work founder. What is Epic Work?
Well, Epic Work is, it has a double entendre meaning, right? It's about, on the outside, it's the work we do, the creating we do in the world. That's our work. And it's about doing that from the inside out. And then, that's where the double entendre, the inner work is the work that empowers you, that it empowers progress, that has the ideas. It's that inner work that we need to be able to do to really thrive in the world.
So, by inner work, what do you mean?
Well, it's everything from, on my journey, it was started with a questioning of everything I believed, right? Could I really trust what I said I believed in? And so I had to examine those things. And then, that uncovered things that was holding me back, and my emotions and my mindset and the way I looked at the world. So that inner work encompasses all of that to become, that you would probably say spiritual, right? The spiritual side of life, the part that gives us meaning and purpose and deep connection with our life and with those around us.
Well, it sounds like it's not for sissies, right? Because that means you have to go in and be introspective.
Yeah, it's definitely, spiritual has this woo-woo connotation and a little bit, for the elite or something. But I'll tell you, it's the hero's journey for sure, right? You've to thrive in this world. It's almost to realize that we came here to overcome these catalysts that happen in our life, the challenges, the sufferings, the impossibilities sometimes. So and our emotions keep us, they keep us connected to that, but we learn to just disconnect from our emotions and only rely on our knowledge, which, has been very limited, up until now.
So is the premise that if you work to become more authentic inside, true to yourself, then your work in the world becomes more powerful and authentic as well?
Yeah, I would say that's the premise for sure.
That can work. So you state most problems in the world stem from misunderstandings about what God is. What is God?
Yeah, I do. I believe that there's a deep cognitive dissonance, a long-term cognitive dissonance in all of us, because we have been misled or allowed ourselves to be misled, however you want to say it. There's really no blame, because it's all encompassing about where the true fulfillment comes from, where true happiness comes from. And so there's this cognitive dissonance that we're enculturated into. And at the core of that is, what are we here for? Who created us? And where's it all going? And what we're told in our churches and in our communities and our education doesn't line up to what we really feel and what we see is really happening. So long-term cognitive dissonance it has physical effects, the stress that it causes, and disengagement from real life, the real inside work that we need to do, is it is caused by this. I can't get settled. I can't get comfortable. I can't regulate, and so we sit and fight and flight, freeze all the time. So yeah,
What is cognitive dissonance that you're talking about?
well, it's really, I mean, it's, to put it in its simplest terms, it's the way I think or feel or understand life to work, and it's supposed to work according to what I believe, but it's not working that way. So
So your beliefs are at odds with what your experience is.
right, yeah. To put it simply, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. So what does belief in a higher spirit have to do with manifestation?
Oh, going right to manifestation, huh? So, so a manifestation to me is work. It's not it's magic in the way that it happens, the way it reveals itself, but it's also work. It's a work in aligning that inner with the outer. It's work in aligning what you think about and what you envision with what you actually do in the world. Now, the universe's magic there starts to open doors for you when you start to have a vision and you start to work towards it. And it's up to you to stay connected to that inner work and stay aligned to the universal principles, the laws that are have been in place forever, that are really, to they're full love. And we get outside of that love, and so we get outside of alignment, we get misaligned to what we really want. And so it has to do with keeping that alignment towards our goal. And ultimately, all our goals, I believe, is unity and oneness with our creator. But we don't get to experience that until we start to align this inner work with that outer.
So is it that if we aren't aligned our inner being is not aligned, then what we put out into the world is jumbled and doesn't bring results?
Yeah, it's discordant, right? So we're taught to go after the great job, the great money, and the bigger houses, the nicer cars, the more boats, all the stuff in the world. And as we get either older or as we get those things, we find out that they're not fulfilling. And so it's everything starts to get jumbled, right? And I think we have stages in life, right? The uh, to me, one of the big lights switch flips for me was when I was 40. It was around that area, not exactly 40, but the 39 to 41 year range. I started to really question what I believe. That's where this journey really started to kick in deep. And but I think we go through those in our 50s, and then I'm seeing now I'm 62, and I could see another shift happening, and it's all coming into alignment to the way that um, I think we were created to live. And when we start to realize that our desire to be happy is not going to be satisfied unless we do that inner work, unless we connect with the creator, unless we have authentic connections with those around us, with the people we work with, it's all just a grind leading to burnout.
Don't you know when a person is dedicated to doing that inner work, isn't aging just a wonderful thing? I mean, it's not fun what happens to the body, but what happens to our substance is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is amazing. And I've noticed in the world of online entrepreneurship, let's just call it, that the people that are taking the AI classes and the people that are taking the classes to bring their wisdom into the world are increasing. The age, it's not just the young people that are, they're not trying to be influencers, they're trying to pass their wisdom on. And but now I'm seeing it in young people too. But I really love what's happening. Technology, what technology is bringing to us, what wisdom is bringing to us, and that generation gap that's always been talked about, I think needs to collapse and is collapsing.
Well, the beautiful thing about the indigenous peoples was they honored their elders and gleaned information from them, had a council, of elders that they would go to help with decisions, and we lost that somewhere along the line, didn't we?
We
And
did.
why do you suppose that happened? Why do you suppose we lost that?
Oh, gosh, I've questioned that, Gwilda. Why do you think? You talk to so many, wise guests. Why do you think we did? What
Well,
do you think caused it?
like I said, I asked you because I wanted your take on it.
Yeah, I've got to think about it for a minute, so I'd like to hear yours.
Okay. Um, well, we got caught up in materialism,
Mm, yeah,
the latest, the
yeah,
greatest, and then that devalues the old.
yes, it does. I think some of the the cultural shifts, the Industrial Revolution, there were some things that really started to shift, and it's not that those things were bad. It's just the change that it brought about somehow disregarded the elder, disregarded that the honoring of that elder. And we started having more wealth so we could, have our own houses and have separate lives. But the idea that used to be put out there, it takes a village to raise a child, I've noticed is gone. But most people would say, don't tell me this is my kid. Don't tell me how to raise my kid. And consequently,
The
we
children
miss out.
suffer. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
children
children do
suffer.
suffer, right?
So, Dean, what drove you to personally seek a higher power?
Well, breaking, right? So, um, I grew up in a dysfunctional household. My mother died when I was young,
Mm, I'm sorry.
and so I there was something I was holding on to, but it was an atheistic household. There, it was laughed about. God was laughed about, but I knew something was happening. But then, as I started to go my own way in the world, I really grabbed on to the Christian faith at first, and it's inside of there that I fell in love with the character of Jesus and what he was saying and what he was teaching. But what I was seeing in the Christian church wasn't necessarily there, and what I was experiencing wasn't what he was saying. So I started to really dig in, to, hey, can I really put my faith, my confidence, which is what faith is, confidence, and in this belief that I say I believe. And I started to read the Bible, started to really get into the Greek and the what Jesus would taught, and I realized, whoa, we have been misled. And so I had this idea that, um, shoot, God doesn't care what we believe as long as we live like it's true. And so I started to dig into that, and I started seeing that in the Bible. Then I found it in Jesus's words, which is, amazing. It's hidden in there. That, like, the first words, the whole epic way is based on the first words of Jesus in the Bible, all the way to, like, Matthew 5:17, where he ends with the salt and light of the world before he goes into the Sermon on the Mount. It's what is revealed there is a map of ascension, of human ascension. And when I started to see that, which it wasn't all at once, it was through that learning, I realized that my creator is bigger than the Christian version of it, so to speak. And I just kept looking. I searched deeply into the Bible. Then I went into other scriptures, other Eastern scriptures, ancient scriptures, and ancient teachings, and realized, hey, they were all saying the same thing.
Mm.
And so
Well,
it just was like a hungry curiosity for it.
well, Dean, it's time for us to take a station
All right.
break. Dean and I will be back very shortly, so don't you go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
The end has come, the night has fallen. I have reached the end of days. What's real is not, reason fails me. I've gone beyond all known pathways. This is the end of reason.
Do you believe in something you've never seen? Why does it matter? With us this hour discussing faith and manifestation is Dean Wilkinson. Dean is the author of Live Like It's True and The Epic Way. Dean, what's your view on religion versus spirituality?
Hmm. Well, religion to me is a set of doctrines and some dogmas of telling people what to believe, telling people what God is, what their creator is. And spirituality is a discovery from within what feels true, what makes sense to you and your whole body and your whole mind and your heart. That's spirituality, where religion is the ancient word religion means to bind together, but what we've seen from religion, the way it's been practiced, it's actually separated us. So it went awry a long time ago. And
So
yeah, so
s-
that's the difference to me.
it sounds like you're saying that spirituality leaves room for evolution and religion doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it, because I've come to believe through all the books that I've read and all the material that I've um, invested in and also internalized is that uh, we all came down here for the same reason, and it was to choose our path. And there's no wrong path. it's it's either the service to others or service to self. And the service to others path is the easier path, believe it or not. It's the path that is most touched by the magic. It is most helped along with the manifestation. And that service to others path requires that we go inside to actually have something of value to offer to others: authentic connection, compassion, deep love, deep care, seeing their potential, being able to call it out of them when when you can't. So yeah, that's what I say about that.
Mm. So when you were talking about balancing, you were talking about service of other and service of self. Ultimately, though, isn't it the balance between the two that keeps you walking straight?
Yeah, I could see that, right? Because if you don't serve yourself, if you don't have a good internal, you don't do that internal work, you don't take time for yourself, you don't develop yourself, what are you going to have to offer to the other? So yes, there is a balance to be struck there, for sure. But in servicing yourself, you're also to realize that you're servicing others. You're serving mankind. When who was it that said, if you want to see a change in the world, be it, right, or be the change that you want to see in the world.
That goes back to aligning the inner and the outer, doesn't it?
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
So, does it matter what definition of higher spirit we believe in, like Jesus versus Buddha or Muhammad?
I don't believe it does. I I think they're all the same. They're all manifestations of the same idea, that we're trying to understand that um, what is the potential of ourselves? What is the potential of a human being? And they are avatars for us to to focus on, to say, hey, can I live like that's true? And if I do, what will that mean for me? Will it mean what they said it would mean? That I would be the happiest, most fortunate person on the planet? That's how I would feel, that I would live in the kingdom of heaven now, right? So, um, absolutely, that's I think they all lead to the same place.
Do you think in order for them to lead to the same place that we have to dig around and find the original teachings and see how that aligns with us versus what we're told by religion?
I do. I believe that search, it's really it's not it, what happens on that search, though. It's not a search for knowledge as much as it is a search to be able to forget some of the stuff we've been conditioned with. It's almost an allowing of of space, of letting go of some of these ideas, these beliefs that didn't work for us, so that it makes room for new ones to come in. And inside of there, right, inside of that exchange of openness, of humility, of realizing that I don't have all the answers in the world, that I'm going to come to realize that's the way to live my life, like a child, like in that very humble curiosity that a child has.
On the other side of being childlike, can't waiting for the higher spirit to provide. Um, kind of put us in a place of victim stance and disempowerment?
Certainly it can if you let it. If it, I can at any moment I could have chose to be a victim of my dysfunctional childhood. I could have chose to be a victim, and hey, I did for a minute, right? And I could have chose to be a victim of all the disappointments, the betrayals that have happened. I could chose that, but instead, I chose to say, "Hold it," or I learned to choose. Hold it. I'm the creator of my life. There's some universal principle, some universal being that really cares about how I evolve as a person, how my soul evolves. And if I and that felt good, that feels like empowerment. And so yeah, I go towards that. I'm empowered. I'm a creator, created to create by a creator, by the creator of the universe. That gets me empowered. And being able to say, I don't want to choose the victim. I don't want to choose the excuse is it's part of growing up. It's part of our evolution, I believe.
So, how do you see mindset determining outcome?
I mean, at its core, it's that I remember mindset first was introduced to me as a positive negative. Get a positive mindset, and turns out that feels better to have a positive mindset. But developing it and actually doing it is another thing. So then you have the fixed and the growth mindset, and it turns out growth and positivity are the same thing. As mindset has evolved, the idea of mindset and the neurobiology of things that are happening in there, we can actually see that there's chemistry going on when we choose a positive or a growth mindset. And so now you can start to say, okay, how can I practice my life? How can I do things in my life to be able to bring about those changes in my mindset? Because the positive mindset feels better. I feel more at peace. I feel more aligned. I feel that it's true, right? I almost think that we don't ever really know something's true. We feel it's true, and it feels like freedom. And so I think if we can align, just stay aligned to that feeling of positivity, of growth, of evolution, of possibilities, then we start to that our emotional guidance system starts to guide our life and starts to guide us towards that spiritual evolution.
How can you tell the difference between a positive mindset and denial, Pollyanna,
Hmm.
ungrounded?
I just had this thought a little bit. I have a company, and someone in there is always resisting some of our ideas, and I was thinking about how this person would call himself a realist. Well, what I would see is when I would ask him, where does he get that? What does he base his belief in? What does he base his opinion in? It's not on anything. It's he's heard it, or he adopted it, or he used it as a coping mechanism. And that's what I think we all do, Gwilda. It was like, hold it, I can be informed, but my source of information was bad in the first place, which is where we find ourselves, you know uh, uh, except for this new age of technology. So that information that we got about the way the world works was misinformed, it was misaligned. And so I think that gives us a whole different way to deal with that dissension, deal with that idea of it's not Pollyannish, it's actually truth. And then when I live like it's true, I actually see that it's true. And when I see that it's true, it becomes a faith that works for me. You see what I'm saying?
I think so. So if you stand in the middle, okay, in a nice neutral stance, and consider the positive and the negative aspects of any situation, and then choose to say, okay, how good can it get? Okay, you are informed, right? You are informed versus just taking one side or the other. It's all good or it's all bad. What, how can we find that center space without being pulled off to one side or the other by our patterns?
Well, be aware, it's that awareness that I could be pulled one way or the other. I have a saying that, because it came to me and part of, as a sort of organic way, but peace became what I call my idiot light. And the idiot light being, my dad used to tell me when he taught me to drive, he said, those lights, if they come on, that means you're an idiot because you didn't check the oil, or you're running out of gas. So he called them an idiot light. And so peace, when I experienced peace for the first time, I was so amazed because I hadn't felt like that as an adult. And so I started seeking that. And when I started seeking that, I started realizing what my thoughts, the negative thoughts, the fearful thoughts, the guilty thoughts, the shameful thoughts were spiraling me down. It was a path of descension. But when I had my positive thoughts, right? When I kept my mind on who I was and what I was becoming, I started feeling better and feeling a power of ascension. And so I just started to realize, if I'm not at peace, then I am probably thinking negatively, like a victim, Pollyannish. And so I started to be able to walk. I would feel both sides of that. Which one do I want to live in? Which space do I want to live my life and put the lens on over my eyes and say, this is how I want to see the world, without neglecting the reality of it.
That's the key, isn't it? Not neglecting the reality, but deciding which way to view it for you, right?
Yes.
So does that piece, we're about out of time in this segment, but does that piece come from the inner and outer alignment?
I believe it does. I believe that it's like the flow state, when we're just flowing with the universal principles, universal laws, the creator that created us, and how that is. It's just more peaceful. We're not rowing against the current.
No, we're not fighting against ourselves, are we?
Right.
Well, it is that magic moment. Dean and I will be right back to continue this discussion. So please, you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind.
Whatever happened to the Big Daddy in the sky? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us delving into such questions is Dean Wilkinson. His website, epicwork.com. Dean, what are the concepts that we are evolving beyond a parent-child relationship with a higher spirit? What's your take on that?
What are the concepts you said of that?
What's your what about the concept? What's your take on that
Oh, that
concept?
we're evolving beyond the parent-child
Mm-hmm,
relationship,
mm-hmm.
with the big man in the sky.
That's the one.
I think that we are realizing that there is no big man in the sky. I think that we're realizing that each one of us is a fractal, a piece of that what we call the big man in the sky, whether we called it God or Jesus or Buddha or Krishna, whatever we called it, universe, source, energy. There's just so many names, and God doesn't care about that. I think that we're growing up. We're evolving. We think about people our age, Gwilda, or my age anyway. I've been so excited from the moment that the internet came out in the 90s, when I started to realize it was there, right? And being able to use it to learn. And what is that? That's 30 something years that's more than a generation of we're evolving, we're gathering the knowledge, we're just deconstructing old beliefs and reconstructing new ones towards what makes more sense for all of humanity, not just for a group that believes a certain way, but what will bring us better, what bring us together, what will bring more peace in the world, what will bring more love to our relationships, what will bring more prosperity to our lives, more fulfillment. And we've just started to share that with each other, and that collective consciousness is growing. And we're saying, hey, let's evolve out of this childlike literal Bible that most Westerners are taught, and into this more inclusive possibility of the human race and of this God thing we call God.
So if we're each a piece of the Creator, a piece of God, and yet if you look out in the world, right, particularly right now, polarization is running rampant. And if we polarize, we can't be unified. We can't bring all those pieces together to have more expression of God in the world. Um, what do you see as the solution there? How can we prevent being taken down the garden path of polarization in the face of what we're looking at today?
Well, if you think of the word evolution, it's not a switch being flipped, it's a process. And I believe that when it's awakened, when we as awakened beings, as fractals of God, start to awaken that we're more than what we've been told, we the evolution is already begun. It's already there. And I think what I've seen in my lifetime is this explosion of not just people our age, but of all ages saying that we're more. So I think that polarization that we've um, been indoctrinated to, one, I think it's played up in the media because it's what sells. And
Exactly. Yes.
it's amazing when you disconnect from the media and the news, and you don't buy into the polarization, you see less of it in your life. Now you run into people and you talk to people, and if you're not polarized, if hey, their path is already good, and they're just as much a part of God as I'm a part of God, then less and less polarization happens in your world. And I think as less and less polarization happens in an individual's world, they polarize less and less in the collective. And I think that's the only way. I mean, I at one time I wonder if everybody could just hear this message, the whole thing would be fixed. I I don't think any one of us are in control of when that reaches the tipping point and um, it becomes the norm. But I do understand from some teachers that we're in that point right now. We're near it.
And from what I've been hearing, it doesn't take 50% or better. A much smaller figure will do it. Is that what you've been learning as well?
Yeah, it's just yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know where they get this information, right? I don't know where it comes from, but it feels possible. It feels like, hey, it's the only way we're going to change is when we start to see that our old ways of being, our old institutions are crumbling in the face of real truth and real knowledge and real enlightenment. It's just falling down. And with the destruction of anything comes some suffering. But on the other side of that suffering is is fulfillment, is life everlasting, is a thrival life, is an epic life.
So, Dean, let's change gears just a little bit.
Okay.
What is life purpose, and how does it play into manifestation and the unity we've been talking about?
So I have a belief about life's purpose, and it's an informed belief. So, but it's that we were we were alive before this life as a soul. We were, if we're part of God, we were never not, right? So, um, and I like to, there's all kinds of Eastern teachings around this, but I like to quote the one that most people who are familiar with the Bible. There's a quote in Psalms, I think, but I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. And
Mm-hmm.
so that idea, right? I was known before I was in my mother. God knew me before. Hold it. Where was I before? Right. So that idea of um, I had some kind of life before, and so I might have chose this life. I don't know if we actually did choose it, but that's the way I understand it best. It makes the most sense to me. From that position of when I was with God and he knew me and we were friends before this, he said, there's this life down there and this personality called Dean that's going to go through all this stuff, but it's going to evolve your soul just like you want, just like you need to. And you're going to get to experience all that. So I think our ultimate purpose is to evolve our soul, is to do the work, to make the choices. And there's no end in sight. There's no, hey, only one chance. You only got this one life to for your soul evolution to come into unity oneness. No, you get more and more chances. So that way we can relax a little bit. Just relax into this life that we have and the choices we made, and seek newer and deeper awareness. And we start to realize, hold it, that is our purpose. And then what comes together inside of that realization is, what are the things, the ideas, the knowledge that I've gained? What is the things that I love that has served others the most? And if I'm on a service to others path, which I believe I am, and I believe you are, and I believe most of your listeners are, that when you're on that service to others path, those things come together, and they might be disparate. They might not make any sense. I mean, I got a garage door business. That's what I was good as an entrepreneur. And then I, some reason got super involved in wanting to see if the Bible was true and if this thing I could believe was true. And then I got heavy into neuroscience and the idea of peak performance and peak human performance, seemingly different things, but now they've come together in this place I call my purpose, that gives each day its meaning. And also the universe opens doors for connection inside of that purpose that spreads that purpose along. So I think each individual has got that soul purpose, and that's just to evolve. Don't need to make it complicated. And part of that soul purpose, we'll start to see what is this life's purpose, and how do I find meaning here?
So, speaking of neuroscience, you say you use the latest research in neuroscience, psychology, sociology, and spirituality. What studies are these, and who conducted them?
Oh my gosh, there's so many studies on it, but they're more summed up. You think of Steve Kotler and his book, The Art of the Impossible, or Brenda Bouchard and High Performance Habits, or Tony Robbins and how do you become a high performer? They've collected all the data, and I went and did my own research and read all those long research papers. And oh my gosh, now that I have AI, I just put them in there and just say, what does this thing say? But there's so much inside of this this research that says being in a state of equanimity, a state of peace, is where I regulate. And when I can regulate, I can actually calm down any cortisol or anything that's causing my anxiousness or fret or worry or anything like that. I can actually calm that down, and usually just by using my breath. And from there, there's the plant medicines, and then there's the extreme ways of really forcing DMT and all that stuff to come just by using your breath. I think it's all around us, Gwilda. All this research is all around us, because that's the uptake of the breath work and the Dispenza teachings, or what he's taught and what he's brought. I could keep going probably, but I think those teachers are good.
Well, I know there's been a lot of studies on the benefits of meditation and breath work, and it's pretty profound on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual.
It is.
Yeah.
It's and it's funny because it wasn't until I left church that I gave myself permission to meditate, right? But then I realized, oh, hold it, I probably was meditating way beforehand. But then I stumbled upon this breath work idea of energetic breath work, is what I call it, and experienced profound states of rebirth and understanding of, hold on a minute, I am in control of my state. I get to do this. I get to say what state I'm going to be in. And that just helps in the evolution of all the other things, right? Whether I practice the breath work or not.
Doesn't the inner work lead you to a place where it's easier to do that?
Yes, it does. right? It just all starts to come together and really starts to bind together there in all these places.
Yeah, it seems like when we first start our inner work, isn't it kind of a one big modern mess in there? It's kind of hard to see who we really are.
Oh my gosh, it's that's where my heart's at, right? When I was in church, I was already starting to have these ideas. I was teaching things like God doesn't care and live like it's true, and some people were really gathering around that. But then I left the church because I'm like, this can't contain what I'm talking about. I want to talk about it a little bit deeper. And but I felt bad because I left all these people sort of in that space that you're talking about when you first begin and start awakening to the spiritual journey. But I didn't know what else to teach them. And that was 2008, and I've been on that journey ever since. How do I explain what's going on inside of me, and how do I not leave someone in the lurch? Because it's a place that feels like suffering, right? It's an ego death. It's a um, well, it's an ego death. I mean, that's really the way to sum it up, because everything I thought I believed and I was so sure about all of a sudden crumbles,
Mm.
and
Truth,
it's disorienting.
truth will do that to you. Well, it's time.
Yep.
It's time for us to take another station break. Dean and I will explore a new way of manifesting on the other side of this break. So don't go away. This is Mission Evolution. www.missionevolution.org.
Brilliant feathers of an unearthly hue glide by on the edge of his dream. A whisper of touch, an unheard song. Whose bird takes flight, prompted by his broken heart. Fly high, sweet phoenix, even though
Manifestation. How do I work it? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dean Wilkinson. Dean, what is there something going on at this particular time that's supporting a new way of manifesting?
There could be. I mean, I am not aware of a new way. I my first thought there, Wilda, is that it's going to be the old way. There's alignment. There's the idea of opening up to the possibility that I've been searching for the wrong things. That's what repentance is in the Bible. I've just been looking at the world in a wrong a way that's not serving me. But then opening up to possibilities that there are a myriad of ways to do that, and a myriad of ways to accomplish what I want. So from there, it's taking radical ownership of what I'm creating, what's in my life, and realizing that whatever that is, I need to uh, either restory that if it doesn't work towards what I want to manifest, or just align to it and go with it. But take definite ownership and let go of those things, and realize I'm a creator created to create. And from there, I start to align to the universal principles of the universe, which is really just aligning to loving God, loving the way He made the world, and loving others. And when I start to align to that, I can manifest. So that's why I say it's old, and that's the first 5-6 steps of the epic way, and it's sitting there in those first words of Jesus. That's what he was teaching. If you want to be the happiest you can be, which is why we want to manifest, then you need to align to these principles, and they're not complicated. So but I'm not aware of a new way of manifesting.
New perspective on it, at least.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
so yeah, Dean, would you kind of walk us through, because so far we've been talking about manifestation in kind of an abstract way. So say I'm, just average person, which I am, and I'm wanting to. I feel like my life isn't working. I'm not getting the things accomplished or done or created that I want. What are the first steps that I need to take in order to align with the way life works and manifest?
Well, the first steps is to release all blame. God doesn't care, nobody else cares, right? But celebrate the fact that you awaken to that. You realize that what you want is not what you're getting, and you want something different. You want something better. So embracing that and setting in it for a minute, right? And whatever a minute is to you, it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a year, but set in that you're dissatisfied. And it usually isn't long, right? But when you start to set inside of that, you start to actually feel a sense of peace. Okay, now what do I want? And start to get that clear. What is it I want? How will it serve me? How will it serve others? But make sure that it's serving you, like what we talked about earlier, too, right? You don't just go out there and be, you're not going to fix the world. You're not going to do anything until you change what you're feeling, what you're doing. So be the awareness of it, get clear on what you want, and then open up, ask the universe, ask this magic that we call the universe, that we call God, that ask for help, ask to see the doors open that will lead you towards what you want. And I call this it's always been within 48 hours for me, right? But I'll get some kind of door opening in my consciousness or in the world around me, in my reality. Something will happen where it leads me to the next step. And as long as I align, keep my inner self aligned, keep my inner self at peace, and that door aligns with what I want, and I start to already feel more empowered. I start to feel more um, in control, more, the idea of being a creator, to create is you need to get your power under control. And when you start to realize you have that power and it's within your control, you start to take slow, steady steps towards what you want to manifest. And keep that in mind. Just that's the first part of it.
So you speak a lot about what you want, find what you want, but most people they think they know what they want, but if you really examine it, it's solutions to assumed problems that don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? That because what I think I'm trying to escape is actually what is the thing that's propelling my evolution, right? So it's God's sense of humor, the universe's sense of humor that shows, hey, what you're trying to escape from is actually propelling you forward.
It's the key to where you want to go, and as long as you try to
Yeah.
escape it, you're going to sit right where you are.
Yep. You got to quit resisting it. That's the suggestion. You ain't got to. You can do. You can sit in it, but it doesn't feel good. So, and I think that's why a lot of our conflict and dissonance has all happened there because we're sitting in things that don't feel good because somebody told us it was the path to go on.
So if doesn't it go back to that inner work, the trying to figure out what you want, trying to know yourself better? So how can you know what you want if you don't know yourself?
Yeah, and it seems to be so discarded, right? Now, your audience is, I'm imagining, does inner work. The people I talk to, I'm in and out. I'm having to always walk that balance. I work in the blue collar world, which, anything that they consider woo woo, they want to reject right away, as a whole, right? Not everyone, but they're more quick to because they're more skeptical. But if anybody realized I'm just a curious skeptic. I came from that world. I didn't believe hardly anything that was told me. It's why I went on this search. I was getting told by all these preachers and different Christian denominations, different things. I was like, this is crazy. And so, but if people will just say, oh, I, I want to know, I want to know, I can get out of this stuck place and I can walk this path on both sides of it. And it will turn out um, that this inner work that I'm referring to is the only work, right? It's really the only work that needs to be done because out of that sprouts your reality. Out of that, the things you manifest, you're already manifesting. Everyone's manifesting. And that's what we don't realize. We're going to manifest different things. So we need to get dissatisfied with what we are manifesting and start getting clear on what we want. And realizing that at its deep core, it's not about cars and houses and money. It's about fulfillment inside. It's about peace of mind. It's about a sense of prosperity, a sense of control in the world, a sense of empowerment. It's felt and experienced that way.
You mentioned our true power and design as spiritual beings. Would you go into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I think the core dissonance we talked about earlier is because we got away from our true design. We were told that we were these personalities. We were enculturated in our families and in our education systems to be a certain way, and none of that was to be the creator of your life, right? Somebody else had to say. You had to follow these rules. So the sense of that, the ability um, to decide that, to get back. And I'm actually lost track of your question here, Gwilda.
That's okay. I was asking you that you mentioned our true power and design it is as
Oh,
spiritual
yeah.
beings.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So um so that dissonance we feel, that feeling is an indication to us. But when I started to really question that, I started to dig in. Well, the first place I went was the science, and we find out and our DNA is programmed for to be a creator, to connect to the creator. We find out that our minds work better, our intuition, our bodies work better. So when we get into that alignment and at heart, soul, mind, and body, we start to realize that, oh my gosh, I am the one that does this. I am the one that can keep this going and hold it. I'm connected to everything around me. So then I start noticing nature, and I start noticing others, and I start noticing I start being in wonder about the way this world is designed to work. And it just keeps happening, how it's formed, the beauty of it. And all of it starts to speak and align with what this truth is. And it just makes sense that I'm the creator of my own life, and that I was created by a creator. And when we look at, you can look at the tiny cell, or you can look at into the universe that just keeps expanding as we keep exploring and finding out more about it. That feels true. It feels like there's a purpose for that expansion. So what is the purpose for all these, millions of galaxies and billions of planets that are out there? And do we think that the earth is the only one that sustains life? Uh, I don't, right? I can't imagine that all that is out there and we're the only things alive and sentient in the whole world. And so I think, well, is that the path we're on, to be creators, to be loving creators, so perfectly that we're creating planets and galaxies and worlds? I don't know. I might have took this off in a whole different direction than what you thought.
Well, is the first step of recognizing that if you don't like your life, you have nobody to blame but yourself. You
Yeah.
manifested it. I mean, isn't that really where it needs to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna start there. It needs to, and because it's the seed that's planted. Like if each one of your shows that you do, or each person you talk to, each thing that I do, and each of these shows that I do plants one seed. It's a start. It is a beginning that if it falls in soil that is ready for growth, if it falls in curiosity and humbleness, that's the soil that causes these seeds to grow. um, it'll just happen. I think it will just happen.
Well, we're just about out of time, Dean, and I don't want to close without asking you, what is your mission?
Oh, my mission is to help those that are confused, that have deconstructed their faith, that have deconstructed the and started asking questions about what they found out in that deconstruction, to help them find the peace of mind, to find their own path, to build a faith that works in their life, so that they too can live in with that deep peace, with that deep fulfillment. Because each person that can get there or get a little bit closer there, we got a little bit better world. We got a little bit better chance of this being the tipping point. And no matter what deconstruction happens to our institutions and the things that we've counted on for so long, we know that we're being reconstructed into the beings that we were created to
Very,
be.
very beautiful mission. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Dean, thank you so, so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Golda. It was a pleasure.
Mhm. Our guest this hour has been Epic Work founder Dean Wilkinson. Dean is the author of Live Like It's True. You can find out more about Dean and his books on his website, epicwork.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit missionevolution.org. But please be sure to join us right here again on the Voice of Canada Broadcast Network, vocbn.ca, where this mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to our evolving world.